The stars outside the Grand Council Hall shone like cold diamonds, glittering across the black velvet of space. Dozens of alien delegates sat in silence around the curved glass table, their forms strange and tall, some with scaled skin, others with luminous eyes or breathing masks hissing quietly in the chamber's perfect air. At the head of the chamber, High Chancellor Varel of the Zalari Alliance stood with both hands raised, speaking the final words of peace. His voice echoed softly. "May the unity of our great galaxy continue. May Earth remain our friend." But as the chamber lights dimmed and the ceremonial music rose, several pairs of eyes did not watch the fireworks blooming over the artificial moon of Vela. Instead, they watched each other with quiet nods, subtle signals, plans that had been whispered. In the dark for years now moved into action. Earth was growing too fast, dangerous, and some in the council had decided it was time to act silently, without leaving a trace, thousands of light years away. Earth's outer colonies were quiet, unaware of what was coming. On the edge of human space, the mining world of Karsus 4 rotated slowly under a dying red sun. The workers had just ended their shift. Lights blinked across the station. In orbit, a civilian freighter passed by with its beacon blinking calmly. Then, without warning, its beacon died. Seconds later, coordinated energy blasts erupted from 3 stealth vessels hiding in the shadows of the nearby asteroid field. The attack was swift, precise, and merciless. No warning, no demands. Within 3 minutes, Karsus 4 was a burning ruin. Communications were jammed. Rescue signals were blocked. Then, as fast as they had come, the attackers vanished by morning. Earth had lost contact with 3 colonies. Back on Earth, deep beneath the Atlantic Ocean, Admiral Marcus Hayes stared at the holographic report floating above the dark conference table. Around him, the Emergency Council of Earth's Defense Command sat in stunned silence. The words were hard to process. No survivors, no distress signals, no pirate markings, just dot. Silence. Hayes' jaw tightened as he leaned forward. His gray eyes narrowed. "This wasn't pirates," he said flatly. "This was professional, clean, surgical." He tapped the screen, magnifying an image of a scorched landing bay. "Look at the energy signature. That's not scrap-built pirate gear. That's council-grade weaponry." A murmur spread through the room. Council weaponry. Impossible. The Council was Earth's ally, wasn't it? But deep down, Hayes knew. He had suspected this for years. Earth had been invited into the Galactic Council. Yes. Welcomed. Yes. But only on the surface. Beneath the handshakes and alliances, many of the older species viewed humanity as a problem. A young race evolving too fast. Earth had built AI-assisted ships, developed gravity weapons, cracked interdimensional communication, all within just 3 centuries of joining the stars. The other species had needed thousands of years to reach that level. Jealousy was one thing. Fear was another. He stood and gave the order. "I want silent Black Ops recon on every colony border. No signals. No contact. I want answers." Within 72 hours, Earth's special reconnaissance teams returned with chilling data. At 2 of the destroyed colony sites, traces of advanced cloaking tech were found, technology only known to 4 of the Council's military members. Even worse, a fragment of debris was recovered from the wreckage of Karsus 4, a hull plate. Its alloy was unmistakably Council-made, but what froze Hayes' blood wasn't the metal. It was what was carved into it. Burned into the plate, with plasma precision, in the language of the old Zalari Empire, were 4 words: "You rose too fast." Hayes stared at it in silence for a long time. The message wasn't random. It was a warning, a judgment, maybe even a declaration. In the weeks that followed, Earth's diplomats pushed the Council for answers. The Council gave nothing but apologies and empty statements. "We mourn with you," they said. "Pirates are growing bold," they claimed. "We offer our support," but behind those hollow words, Earth saw the truth. No investigations were opened. No fleets were dispatched to hunt the attackers. No sympathy, only delay. And so Earth went quiet. Too quiet. The Council thought it had frightened humanity, that it had shown its strength and reminded Earth of its place. But what it had actually done was wake the sleeping giant. Deep in the shadows of Saturn's orbit, an old shipyard came online. Lights flickered in massive hangars buried within. Moons. Titans stirred in the dark, ships not listed in any registry. Dreadnoughts, carriers, stealth cruisers, all waiting. Already. All built in secret. Just in case the day came when Earth had to stand alone. That day had come, and somewhere in deep space, aboard a fast-moving Black Ops vessel, a human scout intercepted a message bouncing between Council satellites. A message not meant to be heard. A voice, low and cold, speaking in the ancient language of war. Begin Phase 2. Earth has been warned. Now we erase them. The scout uploaded the message and sent it home. Then the screen went dark, and the war began. In silence. Space above Saturn was always silent, but on this day, it was listening, beyond the usual chatter of research stations and mining ships. A different signal pulsed quietly through the void, hidden deep within the rings behind the shadows of ancient moons. An old facility stirred awake. There were no docking lights, no civilian beacons, no signatures for satellites to pick up. On the maps, it didn't even exist. But inside, beneath layers of reinforced titanium and shielding strong enough to mask a nuclear blast, was a shipyard that humanity had kept secret for nearly a century. Its name was Erebus Forjand. Was alive again. Admiral Marcus Hayes stood on the bridge of the UHS Revenant, Earth's most advanced stealth flagship. The windows around him were dimmed, but he could still see the vast chamber of Erebus. One by one, shadows emerged from the fog of magnetic interference, massive, silent silhouettes that dwarfed any vessel known to the Council. Not one, not two, but 12 Titan-class ships, each longer than a city, lined the construction yards like sleeping gods. Hayes' face was stone cold as he spoke into the com. Activate battle readiness protocols. No announcement, no warning. Full shadow operation status. If the Council wants a ghost war. He paused, his eyes locking onto the dark shape of the fleet's lead ship. ... Then let's give them phantoms to fear. Behind him, Commander Elara Voss, his second in command, nodded. She'd been recruited from Earth's elite AI tactical. Corzan, expert in managing fleet combat systems, predictive warfare, and zero-delay drone interfacing. But even she seemed slightly shaken. These ships, she whispered, watching as drones flew between hulls, bringing them to life. I thought they were prototypes. Rumors. They were, Hayes replied, till the Council killed billions of our people under the lie of peace. Elara's voice dropped. And now? Now, Hayes said. They're weapons of justice. Meanwhile, light years away in Council territory, skies of Erdalana, lush Council-controlled world, were bright with trade traffic and diplomatic cruisers. Beneath the calm, however, fear festered. The news of Earth's destroyed colonies had reached every major system. But the response from Earth had been nothing. No retaliation. No war declarations. No official investigation. That terrified them, because silence from humans didn't mean fear, it meant calculation. In the quiet hallways of the Council's Strategic Observation Corps, a young intelligence officer named Vel Threx paced nervously. He was a Kavorian, short, scaly, sharp golden eyes, and he had just intercepted a burst transmission leaving Sol System. It was scrambled in quantum encryption layers, unbreakable. But he traced the frequency bounce pattern. It wasn't civilian. It wasn't defensive. It was military. He stood before his superior, dropping the report. Earth's mobilizing something. Something big. They've reactivated black zone frequencies we haven't seen in 80 years. The senior officer barely glanced at it. Speculation? It's not speculation. They've gone dark. There! Moon bases have been sealed. Civilian traffic has dropped by 60%. And Vel leaned closer, voice low. Our satellites near Neptune picked up zero-grav wake ripples, massive ones. Something's moving out there, and it's not on any registry. The older alien frowned. Even if it's true, what can they possibly have hidden that we haven't seen before? Vel took a deep breath. I don't know, sir. But I think they've been building a fleet in secret. A big one. That night, Vel sent a private message to a contact on a neutral outpost. If they attack, it won't be with ships we recognize. It'll be with monsters we never believed they could make. Back at Erebus Forge, the Revenant systems hummed quietly. Earth's top engineers and A's worked side by side in silence. Hayes reviewed each ship's specs: stealth armor resistant to most known sensors, plasma railguns powered by gravitational cores, shipboard intelligence capable of autonomous combat without crew input, and hyperfold drives Earth hadn't even told the Council it had mastered. What the Council didn't know was that during its peaceful decades of diplomacy, Earth had never stopped preparing. Every treaty, every handshake Earth knew it was temporary. That old quote haunted every military leader: speak softly and carry a big stick. Humanity had decided to carry a massive fleet. Hayes walked the long corridor of the UHS Oblivion, a dreadnought equipped with Earth's new experimental weapon, the solar spirit cannon that could pierce the surface of a planet from orbit without nuclear fallout. It had never been tested. Until now, he paused at a bulkhead window as the fleet's A's began final startup sequences. Quiet beeping. Cool. Blue light. No fanfare. Ilara stepped beside him. Where do we strike first? Hayes didn't look at her. We don't strike yet. Not directly, she frowned. Then what? Hayes turned to her with a look colder than space. We send a message, one they can't ignore. 3 days later, a minor council listening post on Trolleys 9 went offline. The post was small, manned by only a dozen technicians. But it was positioned near the edge of human space. It monitored traffic, collected communication data, tracked civilian travel. When council investigators arrived, the station was intact, but every system had been fried, destroyed, reprogrammed. And on the main view screen, left blinking in green, was a simple Earth message. We know what you did. More worrying was the stealth footage found in the logs. Blurry but terrifying. Massive shapes in the dark 12 ships moving silently through the void. No lights. No noise, no transponders, just giants in the night. The council panicked. Meetings were held. Emergency sessions. Debates. Should they go public? Should they retaliate? Most agreed Earth was bluffing until a second listening post, closer to the Zellery homeworld, disappeared the same way. And this time a stealth satellite caught a brief image. One ship. A single letter stenciled on its hull. Us Revenants, a name no council registry held, but one they would never forget. At Erebus, Hayes stood before his assembled fleet. On a screen above, the symbol of Earth's Defense Command pulsed quietly. His voice was calm, but every officer in the room could feel the weight of what was coming. We don't fight to conquer, he said. We don't fight to rule. We fight because they betrayed us. They thought we would kneel. But they forgot who we are. He stepped forward. They'll expect ships, diplomats, negotiations. A pause. They won't expect this. The screen lit up with a star map. Target zones. Movement paths. Ghost Fleet is green, Hayes said. Let the galaxy know. Earth is not afraid. And with that, the greatest hidden fleet in human history vanished into the stars, silent, unseen, and deadly. The Council had betrayed Earth. Now Earth would strike back. The stars above Delvar Station blinked peacefully, as they always had. Positioned at the edge of a minor trade route in Council-controlled space, Delvar was quiet, remote, and considered unimportant. The station's crew was small, only 100. Officers and technicians, most of them barely out of academy. It was a place where Council soldiers were sent to disappear, to be forgotten, or to serve their time before requesting reassignment to somewhere closer to the core worlds. But this time. Delvar was about to become the first echo of a storm that would shake the galaxy to its core. At 0200 hours local time, the station's long-range sensors blinked. A reading appeared, then vanished, then another. Nothing was visible outside the viewports, just the usual stretch of dark void. Then the power flickered. Inside the control room, Technician Harnell tapped his screen, frowning. "We just lost signal tracking for Beacon Relay 7. The officer beside him yawned. "Probably another solar flare. That region's always unstable." But Harnell shook his head slowly. "No. ... This feels different. We're not just losing the beacons. Something's jamming our signal. Something ... Close." Low hum began. Vibrating through the floor? Not loud, not sharp, just a subtle vibration that crept up their spines. Within seconds, the station lights dimmed. Emergency red panels kicked in. Then, without warning, Delver's entire defense grid shut down. A moment later, they appeared emerging from the void like ghosts. 3 massive ships, black as space. No lights, no transponders, no emissions. Their hulls seemed to bend reality around them, coated with stealth fields and gravitational shields. Earth, it never revealed to the Council. The ships did not fire at first. Instead, they stopped above the station in complete silence. Inside the control room, Commander Velron, half asleep seconds, a ghost stood frozen as he stared at the sensor readouts. "Those ships, they're not in the registry." Then the message arrived, broadcast straight to Delvar's mainframe. It wasn't encrypted. It wasn't coded. It was just human. "This is Admiral Marcus Hayes of the Earth's Defense Fleet. We are responding to the unprovoked murder of our colonies. Stand down, surrender your command crew, and evacuate all civilians immediately. You have 10 minutes. Non-compliance will be considered an act of war." Panic spread through the station. Officers shouted. Some demanded immediate retaliation. Others begged for orders from Central Command. But Velron knew what they were dealing with. He had heard whispers of Earth's black projects, ghost fleets, superweapons. He ordered evacuation. It was the smartest thing he ever did. 9 minutes later, UHS Revenant opened fire. It was surgical, precise, beautiful in its efficiency. Railguns pierced through key structural points, disabling reactors and weapon systems without detonating the station. Drones swarmed through the docking bays, uploading viruses into every data core. Human special forces breached the command deck, arrested the top brass, copied every file, and disappeared. In 15 minutes, it was over. No one had died. But everyone left behind understood the message. Earth wasn't playing games, and that was only the beginning. The second strike came a day later, this time on Zellery Shipyard 4, a major construction facility for the Council's Navy. It had been building a new line of war frigates designed for border defense, ironically, to contain Earth's growing influence. At precisely 0300 hours, all construction cranes froze. The shipyard's internal gravity failed. Then, 20 seconds later, every system shut down in perfect sync. A single drone ship, smaller than a fighter jet, pierced the orbital shield and landed on the main platform. From it emerged a hollow projection of Hayes, again speaking clearly. "We told you once. Now hear it again. Your hands are not clean. This facility is contributing to Earth's extinction. You have 60 seconds to evacuate." Some laughed. Until the UHS Oblivion decloaked directly above the shipyard, firing its solar spear prototype for the first time. Beam of focused plasma so tight it didn't explode, simply cut through the main shipyard platform like a blade through cloth. A 6-kilometer-long structure folded in on itself in seconds, spiraling into fire and fragments. Nothing else was touched. The message was crystal clear. "We see you, we reach you. We choose when to burn you." The galaxy watched in silence. Back at the Council's Grand Forum, chaos unfolded. Members screamed at one another, demanding answers. How had Earth created such ships without their knowledge? How had they moved entire fleets through Council space without detection? The Council's intelligence network, once considered flawless, had failed completely. Some accused Earth of building weapons in secret, violating the Galactic Peace Charter. Others pointed out that the charter itself had been broken the moment Earth's colonies were destroyed. But the truth no one wanted to say aloud was simple. They had underestimated humanity. The Council's defense chairman, an aging Ruvian named Praxer 9, slammed a tentacle on the central dais. We must retaliate. Earth has declared war. But several council members hesitated. They had seen the footage. They had seen the way Earth's fleet moved like predators in perfect formation. They had watched 3 full council stations be shut down or dismantled in under 5 minutes each. And worst of all, no civilians were harmed. Earth wasn't acting like an invader. It was acting like a judge. A surgeon, not a butcher. And the people of the galaxy noticed. On neutral worlds across the stars, aliens gathered in bars and news halls, watching the footage on cracked holoscreens. Many whispered the same thought. Maybe Earth isn't the villain. Here, maybe the Council had hidden something. Maybe those destroyed human colonies weren't a mistake. Maybe. Earth was right to be angry. The propaganda war had begun. Earth was winning it without saying a word. Meanwhile, back aboard the Revenant, Admiral Hayes stood before his officers. He didn't smile. He didn't cheer. He only spoke with calm. Fury. We are not conquerors. We are not savages. But we are not prey either. They killed our children, burned our homes, lied to our faces. And now we return the favor with precision, with purpose, with control. He paused, then activated the next target list. 3 more council bases, 2 data vaults, 1 shipyard. All targets involved in the betrayal. All protected by the same council that called us allies. He looked to Alara. Deploy Ghost Fleet Sector 2. Silence them. She saluted. Yes, sir. And across the stars, as the council scrambled to defend itself, a single phrase spread like fire. The humans are coming. Not with speeches, not with warnings, but with vengeance. The Grand Hall of the United Galactic Council had once symbolized peace. Now it felt like a battlefield. The chamber, carved into the asteroid moon of Norellen Prime, glowed with dull amber light. High arches rising into artificial clouds that mimicked a blue sky. The giant oval platform in the center, usually filled with calm debate and soft diplomacy, now buzzed with shouting voices, flickering holoscreens, and trembling assistants carrying emergency messages. At the center of it all sat High Chancellor Virel, his 6 spindly fingers clenching the armrests of his seat as another security feed played above him. Recording of the Earth Fleet's latest strike. A stealth cruiser disabling an orbital command relay near Zyral's reach. The human ship had appeared without warning, sent a single message, disabled every weapon system with an EMP pulse, and vanished tall, without firing a shot or leaving a body. The message had been simple. You betrayed us. You're not blind. The footage ended, and the chamber fell into silence again. Then came the yelling. The humans must be stopped, roared General Serac, a towering beast of iron-blue skin from the Grok's dominion. His 3 eyes blazed with fury. They strike. In silence, without honor, they destroy council property. They wage war without even declaring it. Across from him, Ambassador Nitai of the Loridon clans, her body glowing faintly with internal light, stood in calm protest. And what of the colonies Earth lost? What of the billions burned in silence while we sat here and said nothing? You all blamed pirates. Now we see Earth was right. Several other ambassadors nodded. VIRL slammed a fist on the central control. Stone, order. I will have order in this chamber. But no one listened anymore. The council had been built on a foundation of trust, diplomacy, and quiet manipulation. That foundation was crumbling. Earth had exposed it. Humanity's response was not only military, it was political, psychological, and surgical. 3 more council members rose to speak. Ambassador Rilvan, a soft-spoken but sharp-minded reptilian, from the Kornathi coalition, leaned into the mic. Let us not forget, Earth joined us as a junior member. It asked no favors. It honored every agreement. And then 3 of its colonies were destroyed using weapons built in this very chamber. His eyes scanned the room. And now Earth strikes back. And you call them monsters? But their fleet? Another counselor shouted. Where did they even get those ships? Oh, we shared no such designs. They didn't need our designs, Rilvan snapped. They improved in silence while we watched. We dismissed them as reckless children while they outpaced us in AI, stealth physics, and energy manipulation. He pointed at the flickering screen above them. That ... It's not a race you want to provoke further. A moment of silence passed. Through the chamber, then from the shadows at the edge of the room, a voice rose, quiet, measured, cold. We don't need to fear them. We need to finish what we started. All eyes turned. A figure stepped into the light, his body thin and elegant, draped in dark robes lined with silver threads. His name was Myrix Thorn, the newest representative of the secretive Corval Syndicate, species known for operating in shadows, for manipulating markets and militaries alike. No one knew exactly how he had gained a seat on the council. No one had voted for him, but now he stood at the center of the chamber, his eyes glowing like coals, voice filled with a cold certainty. Earth has revealed its hand, he said. A hidden fleet. Secret weapons. Independent war strategy. If we wait, they will strike harder, bolder. We must strike first with everything. Are you mad? Rilvan barked. That would start a full galactic war. It already is a war, Thorn replied. You just haven't accepted it yet. Varel stood again. Enough. We will not make this worse by unleashing more fire. We need time to investigate the chain of betrayal and time to open talks with Earth's leadership. Thorn's lip curled. There will be no talks. Earth has chosen fire. We must answer with fury. And with that, he left the chamber. But his words remained like poison in the air. Elsewhere in the stars, on a neutral moon orbiting the gas giant, Delora, Earth's ambassador Rhea Langston, stepped into a quiet meeting room carved into the rock. She was alone, save for 3 alien officials seated across the glass table. Their names were hidden, their faces obscured. But she knew who they were. They were the whispering, block-a-quiet faction inside the council that disagreed with the betrayal, that had warned against provoking Earth years ago. You know what they've done, Rhea said calmly. You saw the council's silence. And now you see our response. One of the cloaked aliens leaned forward. We warned them not to strike your colonies. We begged them to wait, but someone else pushed the plan through. Who? Rhea asked. Voice sharp. Another figure slid a dado ship across the table. We don't know his origin. We don't even know his species. But he calls himself Thorn. He rose quickly through secret funding channels, and now he controls key votes on the war board. Rhea frowned. So he's not a council veteran, he's a plant. A nod, or weapon. She slipped the chip into her datapad and stared at the readout codes. Shipments, stealth drives, cloaking systems all tied to shadow funding, all routed through the same invisible hand. Thorn, her voice dropped. Earth doesn't want Throne. We just want the truth. One of the aliens leaned in. Then you need to strike deeper, where the real secrets live. Beneath the surface, beneath the council. Another added, because Thorn, he's not trying to destroy you, he's trying to trigger you. Rhea narrowed her eyes. Why? The alien's voice was cold. Because he fears what humanity might become, if left alive. Back at the hidden command deck of the UHS Revenant, Admiral Hayes watched the galaxy shift. One by one, council worlds were beginning to fracture, some rebelling quietly, some opening back channels to Earth, and others doubling down on defense. The council was splitting, exactly as Earth had predicted. Lara Voss approached with a tablet. Sir, new transmissions. Half the council wants to sue for peace. The other half wants war. And Thorny's moving resources toward the Vega line. Hayes didn't flinch. Let him. She glanced at him. You want him to attack first? I want him to show his hand. A long pause. And when he does? She asked. Hayes stared at the stars. Then we stop pretending. And we end this war before it begins. He looked over the full list of Earth's hidden assets. The second Ghost Fleet was nearly ready, and somewhere in the shadows, Thorn was watching. A quiet darkness had settled over Earth from orbit. The planet looked peaceful. Green continents wrapped in drifting clouds, oceans glimmering under the sun. No signs of war, no flames in the sky. But beneath the surface, in command centers, carved into the crust in hidden bunkers buried under Antarctic ice. Earth was not resting, it was preparing. Admiral Marcus Hayes stood inside Command Core 1, buried 7 kilometers beneath the old Atlantic seabed. Around him, the core AI flickered. With maps, data feeds, intercepted comms, and fleet deployment charts stretching across 7 sectors. Human forces were now fully activated. The Ghost Fleet had splintered into strike groups. All major Earth cities had locked down their orbital traffic. Civilian movements were monitored. Council ships were banned from Sol entirely. But Hayes wasn't. Satisfied, he leaned closer to the main display. Where is he? Alara Voss, standing beside him, tapped a sequence into her command pad. A rotating hologram of Mirix Thorn appeared, his face calm, eyes unreadable, every movement carefully measured. A puppet master, hiding behind masks and deals. No trace, Alara said. He vanished from council records 6 weeks ago. Travel logs, no ship pings, no diplomatic trails. And now, thousands of probes monitored the edges of Sol system, looking for anything strange. This particular footage was from probe Delta 47, located far beyond Pluto. It showed something. WRONG. A. Disturbance in space. A shimmer. Then static. The probe had gone dark. Hayes studied the frame. It's not natural interference. That's controlled. He straightened. They're coming. They came. At exactly 3:14 Earth Standard Time, power outages rippled across 5 orbital defense stations. Simultaneously, global satellite networks flickered, as though struck by a low-grade EMP. It wasn't enough to break everything. Just enough to whisper a threat. Earth's military systems immediately snapped into alert. Drones deployed. Missile silos readied. The UHS Revenant and her sister ships, stationed in deep orbit, activated cloak and slid silently toward intercept positions. But the enemy didn't come with ships. Not yet. They came first with Shadow's digital ones. An advanced virus hit Earth's defense network. No normal code. This was alien in structure. It moved like a living thing, evolving, corrupting from within. Automated turrets turned on each other. Surveillance satellites began broadcasting false images. Atmospheric shield generators switched off for 4.3 seconds, and then just as quickly it vanished. Gone. No trace. No origin. Only one clue remained. A single corrupted file, left in the Tyrannot's root directory. The message read, "You should not have risen." Hayes slammed his fist against the console. How did it get past for firewall chains? Alara looked shaken. It didn't go through them. It rewrote them as it passed. AI, he asked. She hesitated. Something worse. Something older. Words settled heavy in the room. Older, meanwhile. Earth's Quantum Intelligence, Division Q, ID began its deepest dive yet into the source of the betrayal. The analysts traced the virus backward, combing through its patterns. What they discovered made no sense. The code wasn't modern. It wasn't even from this era. It predated the Council. The structure was based on logic systems long thought extinct architecture. Last seen in artifacts recovered from the dead world of Yarwin, a planet destroyed 10,000 years ago by what historians called the Great Silence. Until now, Earth had thought that event was caused by a stellar collapse. Now, they weren't so sure. In a vault buried under Mount Erebus in Antarctica, a team of xenolinguists stared at the decrypted message again. The language was not Zalari, not Ruvian, not even known to Council scholars. But Earth had an edge. They had data from ruins never shared with the Council. The message, once decrypted, translated roughly to, "We are the architects of balance. Humanity is the fracture. Purge before spread." Back aboard the UHS Revenant, Hayes reviewed the findings. Not Council, he muttered. Not pirates. Not internal rebellion. Alara nodded. This wasn't just political betrayal. The Council was used, manipulated. Someone or something pushed them to strike first. Hayes stared at the image of Thorn again. It's not from the Council. No, she said. And he's not working alone. In orbit, Earth's fleets formed. New defense lines. The Revenant deployed forward. The UHS Eclipse, a stealth drone carrier, took position above Mars. The UHS Arcos, equipped with EMP disruptors, slid into Titan's shadow. The system was locked tight. Nothing would get through unseen, but the real danger was already inside. Kid. Confirmed, traces of alien code were embedded in several Earth AI cores. Not active. Not harmful. But Waiting Hayes gave the order, purge all non-critical AI. We go analog until we understand this. It was the first time in 80 years that Earth's military returned to full manual mode. And just in time, one day later, something entered. The Sol system. Not a fleet, not a ship. A probe. Roughly the size of a car, coated in crystalline armor. Its design did not match anything the Council had ever built. It glided past Neptune's orbit, ignored warnings, and was intercepted by a human drone. No resistance. The probe allowed itself to be boarded. Inside was nothing. Just one object. A cube. Black, smooth, and humming with low vibrations. That resonated in the human skull. Hayes had it brought into quarantine. Inside the cube were images. Thousands of them. Dead planets, burned stars. Civilizations turned. To ash dot in each image. Same symbol was carved into the ground. 3 broken rings around a single point. Earth's historians had seen that symbol before, on Mars. Carved into the ruins of an unknown structure half buried in the red sand. They had assumed it was art. They were wrong. Back on Earth, Rhea Langston stood in a sealed diplomatic chamber. She had just returned from her secret meeting with the Whispering Block. Her hands trembled slightly as she stared at the decoded files. They had given her archives so classified the Council had locked them under 20 encryption keys. The files confirmed it. The race behind the original destruction of Yarrowin wasn't dead. They had gone dark, hidden, waited, and now they were using the Council as pawns to wipe out any race that evolved to, quickly any species that might threaten their dominion. They had a name only whispered in myths, the VRXX and Dot, and now they had turned their ancient burning eyes toward Earth's. Hayes reviewed the final report and closed his fist. They weren't afraid of us because of what we've done, he said quietly. They're afraid of what we might become. He stood, voice calm but firm. Then it's time we show them what becoming human really means. The war began with silence, not with roaring engines or screaming weapons, but with a breathless stillness across the stars, as if the galaxy itself were holding its breath. Earth's armada, black and cold and merciless, emerged from the void. Like a nightmare, no war chants, no blaring sirens, just precision, just speed. Just the deep hum of thrusters igniting as entire fleets moved together like a single mind. The UHS Revenant, Earth's most advanced dreadnought, led the vanguard. Behind her, 27 warships followed, each cloaked, shielded, and bristling. With firepower humanity had hidden for decades, they were heading for Council Outpost That-9, supply and intelligence relay hub stationed on the edge of neutral Speci-Hub. Earth now knew was key to the betrayal. Admiral Marcus Hayes sat in. His command chair eyes locked on the tactical map floating before him. He was calm, but beneath that calm, there was fire. The betrayal still burned in his blood. The virus, the manipulation. The ancient enemy hiding behind the counsel of it pointed to one truth. Humanity could never be safe unless it struck. First, unless it struck hard at That-9. The station's commander, a Ruvian named. Krull barely had time to blink before the first wave hit. The Revenant dropped from cloak at 0.2. AUN launched a wall of kinetic slugs moving at 10%. Speed of light. No shields could catch them. They tore through the outer defense grid, shearing through orbital guns and slicing to patrol ships in half before the alarm even sounded. By the time Krull barked his first command, his fleet was already bleeding. Then came the drones. Thousands of black spear-shaped machines, each equipped with microfusion drives and plasma cutters. swarmed out of Earth's carriers like locusts. They didn't pause, didn't wait. They hit Thatnine's outer ring in less than 20 seconds, melted the docking ports, and disabled power conduits across the main habitat ring. Krall's officers screamed across the comms, "Identify the attacker." But they knew. Only one species. Ever moved like that? Only one species struck without giving time to speak. Earth had come, back aboard the Revenant. Elara Voss watched the destruction unfold with cold, unblinking focus. She wasn't here for cruelty. She was here for justice. For every ambassador who was poisoned in the council halls, for every Earth satellite corrupted, for every whisper the Vroxine left behind to control the council, like puppets, and for the billions on Earth who had lived under the illusion that peace meant safety, Elara gave the next order. Launch Hellspick Protocol. A hush fell across the command bridge. A dozen ships shifted into formation. From the UHS Eclipse, a cylinder the size of a cargo train dropped into space. It was black, gleaming, wrapped in magnetic containment fields. Then it detonated not in an explosion, but in a rupture of light. The Hellspick tore open local gravity wells for 20 kilometers, collapsing Thatnine's core sensors and knocking half the station's systems into reboot. It was a non-lethal strike, but devastating. No targeting, no defenses. The Council now understood humanity wasn't here to parley. It was here to punish. Council command scrambled to respond. Dozens of ships rerouted. Emergency orders issued. But Earth had jammed hyperspace relays near Thatnine. No messages could leave the sector. No reinforcements could arrive in time. Back at Council HQ, panic cracked through the marble calm of their great halls. For years, the Council had dismissed Earth as proud, unpredictable, too emotional, and yes, humans were emotional. But they were also something the Council never truly understood: strategic, patient, and absolutely relentless when betrayed. Now, they faced an enemy that didn't beg for mercy or wait for negotiations. Earth had come like a storm, and it would not stop until it burned away the rot Krall ordered full retreat. But Earth didn't allow retreats. As his surviving ships spun up their hyperspace drives, Earth's fleet deployed disruptor nets, massive invisible webs of gravity interference that caught any ship attempting to jump. One by one, the Council's vessels were snared, dragged out of hyperspace, and disabled. But Hayes hadn't ordered full annihilation. He had a message to send. He opened a system-wide broadcast, and his voice echoed across Thatnine and every listening. "Ship, we are humanity, you lied. You poisoned peace. You moved against us with the hands of ancient ghosts. Now we come not as diplomats. We come as the shield and the sword. Run if you can, beg if you must. But remember this: Earth remembers. And Earth forgives nothing." Then, silence. And then the Revenant fired one final shot. Precision pulse beam. Straight through the core of Thatnine. The station didn't explode. It disassembled, piece by glowing piece, as every metal strut atomized into light. No civilians died. Earth had evacuated them first, using stealth pods and false sensor ghosts. But the message was clear: humanity could burn a world without ever touching its soil across the galaxy. Chaos broke out. Neutral worlds began declaring for Earth, fearing what might happen if they stood against it. The Ruvian hierarchy demanded immediate council reform. Whispers spread. Earth had weapons older than anything seen. Earth had warships powered by sun cores. Earth had armies hidden in cryosleep, ready to wake if the final war began. And at the center of it all, one name kept surfacing: Myrix Thorn. Where was he? Why had he pushed the council? Who or what was he working for? Back in deep space, hidden in a dead system orbiting a collapsed white dwarf, Myrix stood on the observation deck of a ship not built by council hands. Its walls were wrong. Angles that bent the mind. Symbols that twisted when stared at too long. Beside him, a creature shifted more shadow than substance. "You were correct," it hissed. "They strike without mercy." Mirix smiled faintly. They must. We'll burn everything, the creature warned. Even the sky, Mirix nodded. That is what we want. The creature turned. But if they survive, they won't, Mirix whispered. Not when the true gate opens. He looked out at the stars. One was pulsing, just barely. A beacon. A timer. When Earth reaches that system, he said, they'll find not victory, but extinction. But Earth wasn't done yet. Hayes reviewed new intelligence. More council outposts. More Vraxan influence. More lies. He turned to his fleet. We don't stop here, he said. We go deeper. And with that, the Revenant spun its engines, and Earth's fleet vanished into hyperspace, once again heading straight for the Council's throat. The stars twisted violently as Earth's fleet tore through hyperspace, its trail rippling like thunder across the galactic fabric. But this time, they weren't heading to a Council outpost. No known coordinates, no familiar maps, just raw data recently decrypted from Vraxan signals intercepted during the raid on Theta-9. It pointed to a dead system, long erased from Council records, a place once whispered of in half-forgotten warnings. Dismissed by scholars as ancient myth, its name had been stripped from the archives, but the Vraxans still remembered, and so did Earth's new enemy Mirix Thorn Admiral. Hayes stood silently on the bridge of the UHS Revenant, hands clasped behind, his back as the fleet dropped out of hyperspace. The view before him was unlike anything he had ever seen. The system's sun was gone, collapsed millennia ago into a pulsing, outlet singularity that shimmered like a beating wound in space. Around it drifted jagged asteroids, abandoned satellites of unknown origin, and at the system's centra, a structure that defied understanding. It wasn't built. It was grown. A ring larger than Earth's moon. It's covered in crystalline vines and metallic roots, floating just outside the gravity reach of the black hole. The gate. Humanity had just stumbled into the edge of the ancient dot in the Vraxan, had been waiting inside the gate's perimeter. Hidden in the umbral shadows of warped space, 6 organic vessels stirred. They were not ships in the traditional sense. They pulsed like living things, flesh covered in chrome bones, veins that glowed with dark energy. Their purpose was clear: guardians. Buried inside one of them, Mirix Thorn watched Earth's fleet with silent amusement. His plan was working. Humanity had struck hard, fast, and without mercy, exactly as he had predicted, but they were predictable in another way. Too curious, brave, and utterly drawn to the unknown. The gate was the perfect bait, and now Mirix only had to wait for them to make the final mistake. Back on the Revenant, Alara Voss studied the alien structure, her mind racing. Sensors couldn't penetrate its interior. Every scan returned corrupted or looping data as if the structure itself was aware of being watched. Could be a superweapon, said Captain Arden. Or worse, a doorway, or both, Alara muttered. Hayes turned slowly. Whatever it is, it's important enough for the Vraxan to hide it from the Council and from us. That alone makes it a threat. He tapped the console. Deploy recon drones. Keep the main fleet at distance. 3 advanced recon drones shot forward. Into the void, engines silent, profiles minimal. As they approached the gate, time seemed to slow. Data packets became distorted. Their feeds showed impossible images, cities floating upside down in oceans of glass, suns orbiting planets, and silhouettes of beings that shimmered between dimensions. Then, all 3 drones vanished. Not destroyed, just gone. No debris, no signal, just erased. We're dealing with something that breaks known physics, whispered Alara. Hayes nodded grimly, or something that doesn't care about physics. That's when the gate stirred. The crystal vines pulsed once like a heartbeat, and a spiral of glowing. Glyphs rippled across its inner ring. A pulse shot out, not as energy, but as soundless gravity, shaking every human ship at once. Suddenly, all opened inside the ring. A perfect sphere of darkness, darker than any void they had seen. It didn't pull, it didn't push. It simply waited, an invitation, a test, A trap. Back in council space, chaos reigned. The destruction of Thatnine had shattered the illusion of unity. Half the member races now blamed each other. Erupted on neutral worlds. Fear of Earth's next move paralyzed the council's leadership, and in the middle of the storm, the Vraxen revealed their true face. Ships long hidden in secret asteroid. Fields powered up. Old oaths were burned. The Vraxen, no longer, needed puppets. Now they would strike directly on the human fleet. Hayes held a silent vote with his command team to go through the gate tour to destroy it. The debate was heated. Destruction might delay the Vraxen, but it could also trigger a weapon they didn't understand. Entering it was reckless, but might give them the knowledge they needed to end this war before it truly began. In the end, humanity's nature won. They chose to enter. 3 ships were selected for the first wave: the UHS Solaris, the Vanguard, and the Silent Dagger Earth's stealth prototype. Each ship was crewed by elite operatives, engineers, and first contact analysts. As the ships moved toward the gate, something strange happened. The sphere within the ring shimmered, not like energy, but like awareness, as if it was watching them. Back. Then the 3 ships passed through, vanished. No boom, no flare, no signal, just gone. Hayes waited. 5 minutes, 10. Still nothing then. Suddenly a single signal returned. One voice broken, ragged. Alara patched it through. "This is Solaris. We made it." "Gods, we made it, but it's not space in here, it's something else. We're inside a system that's alive. Not mechanical, not natural, something older. There are structures, creatures. They've been waiting. There's a message. They say the stars are wrong, and Earth was never meant to reach this far." Static. Signal gone. Hayes clenched his fists. This wasn't just a war of ships and weapons. Anymore, this was something bigger. A hidden war. A game started long before Earth had even built its first satellite. The gate had opened, and now Earth had to decide whether to step fully through risking everything, or pull back and prepare for total war. But it was already too late. The Vraxen fleets were moving, the Council had collapsed, the stars were changing, and humanity defiant, furious. Unbowed was already in too deep. The void was burning. What began as a quiet rebellion had become a war of extinction. Above the shattered remnants of the Council world Zerathon Prime, Earth's fleet held its position like wolves over a fallen empire. Drifted silently through space pieces of once proud Council ships, their hulls still glowing from recent blasts. And in the center of it all, humanity's Titan-class warships floated untouched, their black holes gleaming with the fury of righteous vengeance. But Admiral Hayes wasn't celebrating, because the truth had just arrived, and it changed everything inside. The UHS Revenant, a communication beam relayed from the exploration team that had passed through the ancient gate 5 days earlier, was finally decoded. Ilara Voss stood pale, shaking, as the message played aloud. It wasn't just the Council. It wasn't even the Vraxen. Betrayal runs deeper. Earth was seeded. The words echoed through the war room like a hammer striking glass. Hayes turned slowly, his voice low. "Explain." Lara's fingers trembled as she brought up the decrypted fragments. Images flared across the screen, alien star maps, DNA strands, ruins carved with glowing glyphs. The planets they had explored beyond the gate were not just ancient, they were connected to Earth. Self. Genetically, architecturally, spiritually. Whoever built the gate hadn't just observed humanity's rise. They designed it, and the Council. They had known for centuries. Project Dawn, Alara whispered, pointing to the oldest glyphs, a galaxy-wide experiment. Dozens of species uplifted, monitored, controlled, but Earth was different. We were left alone, left to evolve freely. But not forever. They planned to cull us before we became a threat. Hayes stared at the dark window, his reflection merging with the stars beyond. So they let the Council bleed us. The Vraxen provoke us. Let the war burn till we destroyed ourselves. But we didn't, Alara said, voice firmer now. We broke the pattern. We fought back. She tapped a final symbol, an ancient mark, now glowing on the gates in her ring. A human HAND preen. Ours, far beyond the current war zone, inside the gate's other side. The remaining exploration ships floated in a place beyond time, the void. Here was warm breathing, as if space itself had lungs. Structures pulsed with slow energy. Creatures watched them tall, thin beings of living glass and dark fire. They had no name, but they remembered, and they spoke. Through dreams, through thought, through shared memory, you are the unbound. It's the mistake, the spark that was not snuffed. You were never meant to rise. But now that you have, the test begins. Back in real space, Vraxan ships gathered like insects in a storm. Merrick's Thorn had unleashed everything. Their hidden fleets were no longer secret. Hive ships the size of moons came crawling out of dead stars. Their weapons turned systems into burning gas clouds. They didn't want Earth to surrender. They wanted Earth to vanish. But Earth changed. Hayes activated protocol judgment from deep beneath Mars. A black cube launched into space project. Leviathan, humanity's final weapon. It wasn't a bomb. It was a message. Command code built into the very fabric of the gate systems. The ancient architects had left. Backdoors fail-safes in case their creations rebelled. Earth had cracked them. Now the gate listened to us, and Earth issued its final command. Shut it. All down. Across the galaxy. The effects rippled like lightning. The gates collapsed. The Vraxan lost control of their faster-than-light networks. The Council's surveillance AI systems failed. Entire war fleets blinked into blackness. And blind, the war paused, and into that silence, it spoke. A final transmission to every system, every species, every living thing. This is Earth. You tried to burn us, break us, betray us. You failed. We are not your mistake. We are your reckoning. We did not start this war, but we will end it. We are humanity, and we are coming. The final battle came on the edge of a broken system called EOS-7. What remained of the Vraxan fleet made its last stand. The Revenant led the human charge. Supercarriers unleashed fusion storms. Shock troopers in orbital drop pods rained. Down like iron hail. It wasn't a war. It was a message carved into the stars. One species had risen from the ashes of betrayal, and they were rewriting the rules. In the end, the Vraxan burned. The Council was no more, and Earth stood alone, scarred, bloodied. Admiral Hayes sat alone in the command chamber, watching the distant stars flicker. He knew this wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Humanity had survived its trial. Now it would lead, explore, shape the galaxy, not as prey, not as experiment, but as equals, or perhaps as something more, and in the deepest part of the ancient system, beyond the gate. The architects watched, not with anger, not with fear, but with interest. The humans had broken free. The final species, the wild variable, the flame that refused to die, and one by one, the old beings spoke a word they had not uttered in eons. Let them rise.